The year was 2671, a time when humanity had stretched far beyond its home planet. Earth, once the bright blue heart of human life, was no longer where most humans lived. Instead, people had spread out across the stars, building colonies on distant worlds and traveling between systems with enormous spaceships. Earth had become more of a memory than a home, a legend passed down from generation to generation. But despite the distance and the years, the planet still held a special place in the hearts of all humans. That calm, vast peace was shattered suddenly. Without any warning, the sky above Earth burned red. From the deepest reaches of space, a terrifying fleet appeared. They were called the Vorax, a race of ancient, ruthless conquerors who had traveled across the galaxy to claim whatever they wanted. Their ships were massive, black as the void, and so large they could block out entire stars. The humans watching from Earth's orbit knew immediately these were not ordinary enemies. The Vorax were something far more dangerous. The attack began in a flash. The Vorax unleashed powerful beams of energy, each one cutting through Earth's defenses like a hot knife through butter. Earth's orbital satellites and military stations were destroyed in seconds. The Moon, humanity's constant companion for thousands of years, shattered into pieces that rained down in silence. Space stations that orbited Earth, homes to thousands, were vaporized before anyone could react. The heart of human civilization was under siege, and the planet itself began to crack under the pressure. Unlike any other attack, Earth didn't explode. It fractured. Gigantic cracks spread across the surface like a cracked egg. Mountains crumbled, oceans boiled, the air turned to ash, and in less than an hour, Earth was no more. The people in space watched in horror. For the first time in history, their birthplace was destroyed before their eyes. The last voice from Earth was a desperate, broken message from General Erin Vale, the leader of Earth's defense forces. She called out to the remaining human ships, warning them to flee the Sol system while there was still time. "Earth is lost," she said with a voice filled with pain and fierce determination. "Survive. Make them pay." And then, silence. No one knew what happened next. Earth became a myth, a story told by survivors, a place that existed only in memory. Humanity was scattered. The survivors fled to their distant colonies, many of which were poorly prepared for the shock. Some surrendered without a fight, while others went silent, hiding from the enemy. The Vorax did not immediately chase the fleeing humans, giving the impression they had won and were content. But the silence was only the calm before the storm. The Vorax returned again and again, striking other human colonies with brutal force. Systems fell like dominoes, and in less than a year, half of human space was burned to ashes. Amid this darkness, hope still flickered. Deep inside a hidden region of space called the Kepler Rift, a battered but determined group of humans gathered, aboard a powerful warship named the Bastion. This was the last stronghold of human resistance. At its head stood the same General Erin Vale, who had sent the final message from Earth. She was not the same woman who had commanded Earth's defense months ago. She was scarred, tired, and haunted by the loss of her home. But she was alive, and her spirit was unbroken. General Vale had survived the fall of Earth through sheer luck and strength. Her ship had crash-landed on Mars during the attack, and she had crawled through burning debris to reach a hidden cryopod that preserved her in a deep sleep for 4 long months. When she woke, she found a galaxy changed forever. Earth was gone, and the human race was on the brink of extinction. But instead of giving up, she gathered the best of the best, warriors, pilots, engineers, and scientists who believed in fighting back. Among them were people with stories as incredible as the General's own. Commander Juno Ross, once a smuggler, living on the edge of law and order, was now the fleet's top pilot. Her flying skills were unmatched, her daring moves often the difference between life and death. Dr. Ellen Thorne was a brilliant mind who had built advanced artificial intelligences, machines that could think and fight alongside humans like wolves hunting in a pack. Then, there was Sergeant Drax Harlan, a fierce soldier enhanced with cybernetic technology, who was known for his brutal hand-to-hand combat skills. He had even killed a Vorax war chief with his bare hands, a feat many thought impossible. Together, this ragtag group formed a secret force ready to challenge the Vorax. Their mission was no longer just about survival. It was about revenge. They would fight back against the enemy who had destroyed their home and brought death to their worlds. Against impossible odds, they prepared to light a spark that could burn through the darkness, threatening to consume humanity forever. In this small, hidden corner of space, the human spirit burned brighter than ever. Though Earth had fallen, the heart of humanity was still alive, ready to rise again. The Resistance knew that fighting the Vorax head-on was nearly impossible. Their enemy's power was unlike anything humans had ever faced. The Vorax ships were massive, armed with weapons that could destroy entire planets, and their technology seemed centuries ahead. To win, the humans needed a plan so bold, it almost seemed crazy. A plan that would turn the enemy's strength against them. This plan was called Operation Ash Phoenix. The goal was to steal something more powerful than any weapon the humans had. A sun core. A sun core was the glowing, burning heart of a dying star. It was a ball of pure energy, unimaginably hot and strong. If the humans could take that core and use it as a weapon, they might be able to destroy the largest and deadliest Vorax ship, the Maw of Eternity. The Maw was a ship so enormous it was like a small moon, with a mouth that could swallow entire fleets and crush them inside. It was the command center of the Vorax Armada, and if it fell, the whole enemy force might break. But stealing a sun core was no simple task. The core was located in a distant, dangerous system called Halloris Prime, where a dead star still burned, with the last of its life. The humans had to send their stealthiest ships, small and fast, cloaked by advanced technology to avoid detection. Commander Juno Ross led the daring strike team through asteroid fields filled with deadly traps. Enemy drones swarmed around their ships like angry hornets, firing relentlessly. Space around them exploded in brilliant colors as beams and missiles flew through the void. Inside the chaos, Juno flew her fighter with skill and courage that amazed everyone. She twisted and turned between the asteroids, dodging enemy fire like she was dancing with death. Meanwhile, Sergeant Drax Harlan and his squad fought brutal battles on the surface of ruined freighters and space stations, tearing through Vorax monsters that looked part machine, part alien beast. Even when Drax lost one of his arms, he wrapped it up and kept fighting, his determination unbreakable. At the heart of the mission was Dr. Ellen Thorne and her AI partner, Rogue. Rogue was not just a machine, but a thinking, breathing entity created to outsmart the enemy. Working quickly, Rogue hacked into the dying star's core, stabilizing the unstable energy and preparing it to be moved. The humans hooked the glowing sun core into a special gravity cocoon to carry it safely across space, even though it was like holding a tiny sun in their hands. The cost was high. Many brave fighters were lost that day, but the sun core was theirs. With the stolen sun core secured, the Resistance began their next move. But the Vorax were not foolish. They quickly learned what had happened and prepared to use their deadliest weapon against the humans, the Maw of Eternity. General Erin Vale gathered her fleet. Her voice was calm but fierce as she spoke to her crew. She reminded them that they were fighting not for a lost planet, but for all the people who still lived in fear, for every star they had watched burn in the darkness, and for every human life that mattered. The humans were no longer victims. They were warriors. The final battle would decide the future of all humanity. The human fleet jumped into the path of the Maw. Hundreds of ships flew together in a thunderous wave, lights blazing through the dark emptiness of space. Fighters streaked ahead like swarms of angry hornets, while the big warships followed, ready to fire everything they had. The Maw was terrifying. It opened its massive jaws and unleashed a storm of destruction. Its weapons fired beams of energy that could slice through metal like paper. The battle was fierce and brutal. Ships exploded in fireballs, and space was filled with the sounds of alarms and desperate shouts. Every second counted, and every human on those ships fought with everything they had. Commander Juno's wing of fighters flew right into the heart of the Maw. They weaved through its defenses, dodging turrets and missiles. Her ship took heavy damage. Both wings were shot off, but she pushed forward, refusing to give up. Inside the Maw, Sergeant Drax and his Marines stormed through corridors filled with monstrous Vorax guards. Though wounded and bleeding, Drax kept fighting, his cybernetic strength helping him smash through enemy lines. Meanwhile, Dr. Thorne guided Rogue from the command deck of the Bastion. Her hands flew over controls, directing the Sun Core into position inside the Maw. The ship was unstable now, ready to explode with the power of a small star. But time was running out. The Maw's defenses were closing, and the humans needed one final brave soul to trigger the core's detonation from inside. General Erin Vale volunteered. She took a stolen Vorax pod and flew straight into the enemy ship's heart. The last anyone heard from her was a steady voice saying, "For Earth, for humanity." A blinding light tore through space, brighter than any star. The Maw of Eternity and half the Vorax fleet vanished in an instant. The war had changed. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not just survivors. They were legends, fighters with the courage to face death itself and win. After the mighty explosion that destroyed the Maw of Eternity and shattered the Vorax's central command, the battle's tide shifted suddenly, but not without great cost. The loss of General Erin Vale hit the Resistance hard. She had been their heart and soul, the guiding light that kept their hope alive even when Earth itself was gone. Her sacrifice was a blow that left many silent, her final words echoing through the ships, "For Earth, for humanity." These words became a rallying cry that united every human in the fleet, inspiring them to push forward with a fierce determination. Though the Maw was destroyed, the Vorax were not defeated yet. Their forces scattered but vowed to return with even greater fury. The humans knew they could not allow that. The remnants of the Vorax fleet were regrouping, preparing to strike at the scattered human colonies that had already suffered so much. The Resistance's goal shifted from defense to offense. Now they had to hunt down the Vorax and stop them for good. Commander Juno Ross, still battered but unbroken, took command of the fleet. She was young but fierce, her courage hardened by the brutal battles they had faced. Her sharp mind and bold tactics became the beacon of hope in this dark time. Under her leadership, the humans launched a daring chase across the stars, tracking the Vorax through nebulae and asteroid belts, never giving them a moment's rest. The chase was not without danger. Vorax ships attacked from hidden places, striking suddenly with savage force. Each encounter was a test of skill and bravery. Juno's fighters swarmed like a swarm of bees, their lasers cutting through enemy shields and hulls. But the Vorax were relentless. One battle after another drained the human fleet's strength, and every victory came with loss. On board the Bastion, the crew mourned General Vale, but found strength in their mission. Dr. Ellen Thorne worked day and night, developing new technology to repair damaged ships faster and improve their weapons. Rogue, the AI, evolved beyond its original programming, learning to predict Vorax tactics and guide the fleet with near-perfect precision. The humans became faster, smarter, and more united than ever before. Meanwhile, Sergeant Drax Harlan became a symbol of human resilience. Despite his cybernetic wounds and the pain that came with them, he never stopped fighting. His bravery inspired others to stand strong, reminding everyone that humanity's power was not just in technology or weapons, but in their will to survive. Drax led several ground assaults on Vorax strongholds, sometimes alone, tearing through enemies with his unmatched strength and fierce spirit. The humans' relentless pursuit finally led them to the Vorax's hidden homeworld, a dark, storm-racked planet surrounded by massive warships. It was a fortress where the Vorax planned their next invasion. Juno prepared her fleet for what could be the final battle. The stakes were higher than ever. If they lost here, the Vorax would rebuild and crush humanity once and for all. But if they won, humanity would prove it could never be destroyed. The attack began under a blackened sky filled with lightning and explosions. Human ships poured into the atmosphere, dodging enemy fire as they descended. Fighters engaged in fierce dogfights with Vorax flyers, while bombers aimed to take down the massive enemy warships in orbit. On the planet's surface, Drax and his team fought through endless waves of Vorax warriors, moving toward the enemy's command center deep inside the storm's heart. Juno's voice crackled through the comms, calm but urgent. "Hold your lines! We're breaking their shields!" Her leadership was precise, guiding every move with skill born of years of hardship and loss. The human fleet pushed forward, refusing to give even an inch. At the climax, the humans faced the Vorax warlord, the monstrous leader who had commanded the destruction of Earth. This towering figure was a living weapon, half machine, half beast, with armor that no ordinary weapon could pierce. The final showdown was brutal and raw. Sergeant Drax confronted the warlord on the ground, their battle shaking the very earth beneath them. Every strike from Drax echoed with the pain of 1,000 losses. But he fought not just for himself, but for every human who had ever called Earth home. Above, Juno led a squadron in a daring attack on the enemy command ship. Dodging death at every turn, she guided her fighters into the ship's core, planting charges that would end the war once and for all. As the ship began to explode, a massive shockwave rippled through the planet's atmosphere. The warlord fell. The Vorax forces, shattered into chaos. With their leader gone and their fleet broken, they fled into the dark corners of space, no longer a threat. In the quiet aftermath, the human fleet gathered. Though battered and tired, their spirits were unbroken. Earth might have become a myth, lost forever to the flames of war. But humanity had risen from the ashes like a phoenix. Their story was no longer about a single planet, but about a race that refused to be forgotten. The stars were theirs now, and wherever they went, their legend would follow. The survivors looked up at the night sky, once filled with fear, now filled with hope. The final dawn was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where humans, against all odds, stood tall among the stars as conquerors, survivors, and legends.